Good morning, everybody. It is Saturday, October 14th, 2017, here on the Rancho, and good morning to each and every one of you. Once again, big thank yous to all of you out there who have been overwhelming our systems with thoughts and good wishes and questions and text messages and stuff. You guys have been
Awesome.
awesome. So it is Saturday. I thought I would do an update. We've almost completed. Well, we'll be completed our sixth day today in this fire event here in Sonoma County. That sadly, Missy Jen, has become the largest wildfire event in California history.
Yeah.
Here, and unfortunately overnight we did have some winds materialize, and on the eastern side of town, outside of town, from the town of Sonoma inward towards Santa Rosa on Highway 12 coming west, and of course that's the road that we always travel to see the boss and Janet down there. That what's called the Nuns Fire, Nuns, in that area exploded overnight. And now there's a real battle royale over there to try to contain that fire. And the town of Sonoma has been evacuated. And Sonoma is a very beautiful little town. It has it's where the California flag that we all know, the thing that says California Republic, was developed there when California was independent for a couple days before the United States came in and formally annexed it. But it's a town with a lot of proud history. It's a town that also has the northernmost of the famed California missions that were founded by Father Junipero Serra, the Spanish missionary. So St. Francis up there is the last one. So it's a town that they would really love to protect.
It's very clean.
Yeah, it's just a beautiful town, a big town square, a lot of great history, a lot of really old buildings. Also Glen Ellen, a lot of Glen Ellen, where we went to see the Jack London Museum and go over to visit Jack London State Park. A lot of that has been decimated now. The town of Glen Ellen, I'm sad to say, which was a tiny little beautiful town over there. And the evacuations have now expanded to over 30,000 people are sheltered now, up from 20,000 a couple days ago, and there's additional shelters now open that are pretty much full down in Marin County down there now. So we're talking about an event that easily stretches 100 miles probably north and south, and at least 30 miles across from east and west. So it continues to be very large. For our area, it's been peaceful, it's been calm, it's clear skies out for us. The air quality seems pretty good today. A lot of people have asked, where is your location relative to, the fires and things? And most of them tend to be to the north and the east of us. There's two major highways that cross in Santa Rosa. Highway 12 runs all the way over to the ocean and all the way over to, it runs well into the central California Valley. It's where we picked up our original RV out in Stockton in that area. Rio Vista, we went out. That's all Highway 12 out there. And that's the major east-west highway here, and I use highway because it's a lot of places. It's a California road. It's a two-lane road for the most part. So that's our east-west. And then, of course, we have Highway 101 coming up from the north and the south, forming almost a perfect cross in those areas there. So we're very close to the center of where those two roads meet. And our area has been, just basically in the southwest quadrant, but very close to the center where those two meet. So our area, luckily, the fire stopped about a 3/4 of a mile to the north and about a half a mile over toward the east. So we were lucky that we were protected there, and they pretty much got what's called the Tubbs fire, where we are. Pretty much like 50% contained in that
Yeah.
area.
They made good progress on that one.
Yeah, we've gone from the city of Santa Rosa has something like 116 firefighters that were there in the initial stages on Sunday to try to battle this epic blaze that's now become the largest in California history. 116 firefighters. We now have over 10,000 firefighters in the county here, and resources from as far away as Australia, and firefighters from Australia and Canada in here. So there's quite a gigantic effort, and it continues. More people have been evacuated overnight. Like I said, we've bulged out to 30,000 people now. Now, let's get to having updated you guys. Our situation is good here. And we'll be trying to get back to some regular videos. Yes, we were able to go out last night and do a Friday night restaurant review. You'll be seeing that hopefully today or tomorrow. Now, a couple questions. Why can't you get some fresh video in these new areas? Well, we went from a police department of maybe 200 in Santa Rosa, or probably many more than 200, well, probably a couple hundred police here in Santa Rosa. We now have thousands of police here from all over the Bay Area, and they have more effectively blocked access to every area that's in a fire situation now. Every area that's been burned is blocked off and cordoned off, and you are subject to arrest if you cross those fire lines. They have the yellow ribbons, police line, do not cross. So I don't want to do that. Monday and Tuesday were a different story. The police presence was, we were still dealing with county and a few local other county agencies, police agencies here. And we were pretty much able to make our way into those areas without anybody. You couldn't drive in, but nobody stopped us from going in on foot. So, you know, the next video series we bring from those areas will be when they're open to the general public. But of course, you've already seen the major burn areas in the city of Santa Rosa. The only one we weren't able to really get into was the most tragic area, of course, Coffee Park over there. Even the residents haven't been able to get into that area because the police are so afraid that the wind kicks up, it reignites the fire within those areas. Although you and I know there's really nothing left to burn.
The only one that got in there and drove around the whole place was the USPS.
Post office delivers. So they were out there delivering to what mailboxes were standing on that eerie landscape of burnout, which brings us to the whole issue. And we always feel like we have to update you, because if I don't, we'll get questions later. But the strangest question that not the strangest, but the number one question we've gotten in this whole event as we've gone around, as people have looked at the satellite imagery, as people have looked at other videos and photographs, is why didn't the vegetation and the trees burn in so many areas? You look at other landscapes like forests out in Tahoe and places like that, and you'll still see trunks standing, but you don't see a lot of vegetation. You don't see a lot of pine needles and things like that on. So it's a very intriguing question. Of course, I have other questions too. As I walked around those first days, I didn't see any vitreous plumbing fixtures. In other words, I didn't see any toilets at all. I didn't see any sinks at all. I think I saw one tub the whole time I went around, in the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of places that I saw. They had all, they weren't there. The toilets, which are supposedly made of porcelain and ceramic, my guess is that they, with the slight bit of moisture content that they have within them still, when that heat got to it, it just caused those to explode, because they have made of clay. It has some minor moisture. But as far as the trees are concerned, there's a couple things that you got to know. This area is not a stranger to wildfire. There was a big one in 1964 that actually the students from the junior college got out of class to get up in the hills and try to assist fighting that fire. It was a much less populated time. So people learned a lot when you do these developments and things to try to put in fire-resistant plantings.
Right.
And you'll see a lot of these, like cypress and other things. You could hold a blowtorch next to these things, and yes, you'll scorch the leaves, not the leaves, but the
trunk.
You'll scorch the trunk, you'll scorch some of the greenery on it, but it will not catch fire and it will not burn. There's bushes that they sell in the nurseries, fire resistant. These people are not, you can say they're dumb to live on the hillside, and perhaps that's a decent argument to make. And remember, people want the view, the view, the view. But they were planted and developed and zoned in with a lot of these plantings that were supposedly fire resistant. Number two is that fire swept down the hill from Napa over into Sonoma County. It was being fueled by ground vegetation, what we call in California the brush here, and it's very thick. We had very heavy rains all last winter, so we had a big growth of that brush, and that brush is on state land for the most part. And when that fire came over, all that chaparral, what they call that chaparral, just made it a beautiful carpet of kindling to go across. And as it moved down and it was driven by that wind, the thing that's likeliest to burn in the path is the houses, because the houses are super dry. And I hate to say it, but a lot of the houses are what I call Potemkin villages. I mean, they look beautiful.
Yeah, they're basically cardboard.
But they're basically very flimsy, the construction of them. And I hate to say that. I'm not singling out builders because it's the methodology that's common today. But when you would look at things like the chimneys just made of OSB, the oriented strand board, or if you're lucky, plywood, and then just construction adhesive to put fake stone on top of that. And the walls look super thin. It's just, when that fire hit those particular areas, that was the driest and best source of material to go up. It wasn't the trees. By the time the trees could have potentially ignited, all the fuel had been used up on the ground, the brush, the chaparral on the ground. So there wasn't really enough to give a continued vertical burning on a lot of these trees and things. The fire had stayed at the houses, and that's what we saw flaming up in the hills, the hotels, the houses, because they are literally the driest things coming down in the path of that fire. And also, I'm afraid to say, not very resistant to fire. So once a little spark hit an area, then it was game on in terms of the fire. So I never saw fire zones where there was really, they worry about looters and stuff like that. And so far they've arrested 8 people for looters, 3 in the city. But compare that to other cities where you'd have hundreds of people creeping around fire zones trying to find things. They're not fooling around here. They're just arresting you. They're not even telling you to leave the area. They're just putting you under arrest and taking you away to Alameda County, and sadly for you, the courts are closed until at least next Wednesday, so you get to sit on your can for days in the jug, waiting for your arraignment and things. But there's nothing to take. There's literally nothing to take. I mean, plumbing systems, you're lucky if you see one piece of copper going up that would have gone to the second floor. Everything else is PVC, PEX, and
it's just ashes.
Just ashes. I mean, that's the thing that seemed to be the thing that survived the most to me was washers and dryers and iron patio furniture, steel patio furniture. But everything else,
the housing of the washers and dryers.
Yeah, the washers and the dryers and the shells of cars seem to be the things that really lasted. So the number one question that people have asked is, why didn't the trees burn? And I'll just end on this also. They have also a higher moisture content. Did anything around them has, and a lot of them still haven't lost their leaves and really haven't dried out yet for the leaf drop season. So,
Well, a lot of people have watering systems,
especially
so
up there.
everything gets watered daily. So all
They can
the
afford the water.
plants, all the trees are full of water and very moist. So it's very hard for a fire to attack a very moist plant, a moist tree. So that really explains why the trees, the bushes, and everything.
And also, if you go back and look at yesterday's video where I traced the fire across the interactive map there, you'll see a point after it jumped Highway 101 going westward. It hit that Coddingtown Mobile Home Park, that one little corner that I videoed on Monday morning. But then it had to leap, that fire had to leap a distance of about 3 blocks until it got into Coffey Park. Well, you know, there wasn't any vegetation between Coffey Park and that tiny little Coddingtown Mobile Home Park. So nothing really burned in that area. Okay, it took until there was the vegetation in Coffey Park over there was the next place that the fire moved into that got a toehold. And of course, once the wind gets it, it just expands it dramatically sideways and out.
A 12-foot concrete perimeter around your house with no vegetation can save your house. We did, when I lived in Missouri, have that because that was recommended to us. We lived out in the woods and grassland, and somebody actually up on Fountain Grove did have no vegetation around and had that 12-foot concrete perimeter around, and that was one of the few houses that did survive.
All right, there we go. So we're going to leave it at that. Yes, I'm going to have the regular hangout today starting at 5 p.m. We're going to try to lighten the mood up a little bit. People will still want to talk about the fire and make their observations. It's an open hangout, whatever y'all want to talk about. I know I sure need a few beers tonight and a chance to.
I'm going to need some too, but I can't. I'm going to be...
All right, guys, we're going to call it a morning upload. Thanks so much for being here. Stay tuned. Continued thoughts and prayers are appreciated. Not so much for us. We're okay. But over on the eastern end of town and the eastern end of the county, things are really touchy and out of control.
Yeah, we met a couple yesterday, actually, on our foodies from Oakmont.
Yeah, which is on the eastern edge of town.
They are right now evacuated.
All right, everybody. Happy Saturday to you, and thank you so much.
Happy Saturday.